Aquí estamos. So here's their first video lecture, and we'll be looking at section 5.4, which is the last grammar section of chapter 5. And so we're going to start with this PowerPoint. So we'll see, this information is in your book, but it's good to go over. So today we're talking about direct object nouns and pronouns. So as you can see in this sentence that's here, Juan Carlos y Jimena están tomando fotos. It breaks it down, right? It tells you that the subject is Juan Carlos y Jimena, the verb is están tomando, and the direct object is fotos. So basically, the direct object noun is the thing that's receiving the action, sort of, if you think of it that way, of the verb, right? So you're taking what? You're taking photos, okay? So that's what this tells you. What are Juan Carlos and Jimena taking? They're taking photos. So the slide goes on to tell us when a direct object noun in Spanish is a person or a pet, it is preceded by the word a. This is called the personal a. It's this weird thing. We're going to see that a bunch throughout the semester. So, and there's no English equivalent for this. Okay, so let's look at this example. Mariela mira a Carlos. Right, so if you look at the translation, Mariela is watching Carlos. That a doesn't have anything in English, okay? But in Spanish, it's necessary. Compare that to Mariela mira televisión. Notice that we don't use the a there, right? And that's closer to the English. And the reason we don't use the a is because it has to be a person or a pet. And that's just what this breaks down what I just told you. So here we are with some examples of direct object nouns and pronouns. So it says, Miguel no me perdona, no tenemos tablas de windsurf, el botones las puede conseguir para ustedes. Now here we see an example, las, of a direct object pronoun. And it's las is referring back to tablas de windsurf. So in English this would be like saying, we don't have any windsurfing boards. And it says the bellhop can get you them for you, right? Can get them for you, right? That last referring back to tablas. So let's see how do we do that in Spanish? How do we say it or them or though, the, those type of things? Let's see. So direct object pronouns are words that replace direct object nouns, right? So in the example, at the very beginning, fotos, right? So like in English, Spanish uses a direct object pronoun to avoid repeating a noun already mentioned. So let's look at this example. Maribel hace las maletas. So if we want to say, that's saying Maribel packs the suitcases. And we want to just say Maribel packs them. That's how we would say it in English, right? Maribel las hace. So you notice that the las replaces las maletas. Felipe compra el sombrero. So if we don't want to mention el sombrero again, we say Felipe lo compra, it, right? So Felipe it, he buys. So the order in Spanish is different than English, right? In English, the it comes after the verb, but not in Spanish. Vicky tiene la llave, right? So she has the key. Vicky la tiene. All right, so we notice that las and la stays the same. La and la stays the same. The only difference is when it's el. El turns into lo. And that's broken down here for you, okay? So again, and this is all in your textbook, so you can go back and look at this. So for direct object pronouns, for me, you say me. I'm sorry, for me, you say me. For you, familiar, you say te. So notice it's not tú, right? You, if you're being formal, for usted, him, or it would be lo. Most often it's it, right? Same for la. So if it's a female and you're being formal, you would say la. Or if it's a feminine thing or to her, right, it would be her or it, la, right? So me, te, lo, la. And then over here, plural, nos. We can forget about the os, right, because that's for vosotros. So nos, los, and las. Right, so nos is us, you, them, you, them. You, them here with los as if there's a male present, las if it's only a group of females. So like we saw earlier, direct objects in the affirmative, they go before the conjugated verb. In negative sentence, the pronoun is placed between the word no and the verb, right? So pretty straightforward. Let's look at the examples here. Adela practica el tenis. Adele lo practica. So lo is referring back to tennis. So it's like saying she practices it. Here we have a negated one. Gabriela no tiene las llaves. Gabriela no las tiene. Right, so then it goes in between the no and the verb. Carmen compra los pasajes. Carmen los compra. Los referring back to los pasajes. Diego no hace las maletas. Diego no las hace. All right, so for the negated. Now we do have a couple options when it comes to talking about the future. Or one example, right? So when we use ir plus a plus the infinitive, like going to do something, you can attach it. You could put it before the verb, the conjugated ir, or you can attach it to the end of the verb, right? So ellos van a escribir unas postales. If we want to say they're going to write them, right? You can say ellos las van a escribir, and the las referring back to unas postales, or ellos van a escribirlas. You notice that the las is attached to the verb. All right, so there is some freedom to choose there. Here's another example. Lidia quiere ver una película. Lidia la quiere ver, so the la goes before the conjugated verb, or Lidia quiere verla. So again, you attach it there. So you can use either of those. And you can switch it up however you like, but you should know that they exist, right? The same is the case for the present progressive, with the exception that if you connect it to the ending, you have to add an accent mark, right? So look at this example. Gerardo está leyendo la lección. So now we want to say Gerardo is reading it, right? So Gerardo la está leyendo, here it goes before the verb. Or we say Gerardo está leyéndola, right? So here we can connect it to the leyendo, but then we have to write that accent mark over the E there, right? So it always goes in the last vowel in the endo or ando or iendo. That's where you would write the accent mark. Tony está mirando el partido. Tony, so we want to turn el partido to it. Tony lo está mirando, or Tony está mirándolo. Right? So you notice we put the accent mark over there when we add it to the end of the present progressive. And that's it for the slide. So the nice thing about these videos is, right, you can stop this right now and go back and look at that again if you want, right? So unlike real life class where if you can kind of get lost with the video, you can go watch that as many times as you like. So I'll be moving kind of quickly, and this is how I do these videos. I present the concept, and then we do a few activities together, but you're not actually here. So what does that mean we do them together? Well, it means that I go through this and then I say pause. So as you're watching this, you'll literally press pause and then think of the answer, and then you'll press play again and I'll give the answer, right? And that's how we'll do this. So you can't watch this part in real time, because in real time I'll be going fast. There won't be enough time. So you actually have to physically pause the video, okay? So here we go. Here's our first activity. It's called seleccionar. It says select the correct option to complete the sentences. So we're practicing with these me, te, lo, la, etc. Right? So it says aquí está tu cuaderno. So the word that we want to replace is tu cuaderno. So it says, we can say donde la pongo, donde te pongo, donde los pongo, donde lo pongo. So go ahead and pause it. And then you can come back. And we would say donde lo pongo, because the lo is referring to cuaderno. You say el cuaderno. Alright? Número dos. Creo que la puerta está abierta. Voy a, would you say cerrarlas, cerrarla, cerrarlo, cerrarlos, referring back to la puerta. Okay, pause it. And we're back. It would be cerrarla, right? Because it's referring back to la puerta. Okay, número tres. Susana, ¿están listas las maletas? Diego says, no. Los estoy haciéndolos, estoy haciéndolas, or la estoy haciendo. Pause. And we're back. It would be estoy haciéndolas. It's the only one that works because it's las maletas, and they have to agree, right? Has to be plural. Bien. 4. El caballo es muy bonito, pero me da miedo montarlo, montarlas, montarla, montar una. So this is saying to ride it, right? Referring back to caballo, which is a horse. All right, pause it. And we're back. El caballo es muy bonito, pero me da miedo montarlo. Montarlo, because the lo is referring back to caballo. Good. ¿Por qué no llamamos a la empleada? Tenemos prisa. La empleada, la o lo. Pause it. Here would be a la empleada. This is an example of on the slide when it was talking about the personal a, right? Because la empleada is a person, so that's the only one that makes sense there. Número 6. Cintia. Hola, José. Somos Debra y Cintia. And then the question is, they're trying to say, do you remember us? So, los recuerdas, nos recuerdas, me recuerdas, las recuerdas. Pause it. My wife keeps texting me. Sorry about that. So here, okay, so pause it and we come back. We would say, nos recuerdas. Do you remember us? Right? And Jose says, no, disculpen, no, los recuerdo, lo recuerdo, las recuerdo, la recuerdo. So remember, this is Deborah and Cynthia. Sounds like two women names. So pause, and we're back. It would be las recuerdo. Like, I don't remember you two, formal. Or no, well, it's not necessarily formal, it's just because there's two women. Okay, 7. Me gusta la película. Mario también está viéndolo, viéndola, viéndolos o viéndolas. Pause. And we're back. We say viéndola because it's referring back to la película. En 8. Manuel va a visitar todos los monumentos de la ciudad. Está feliz de verlas, las ver, verlos, los ver tan cerca. All right, think about it, pause it. All right, we're back. It has to be verlos, right? Because it's referring to los monumentos de la ciudad. All right, so there you go. We're only just going to do this one activity because it really covers everything you need to know. So you can watch this as many times as you like. That's the brilliance of having these videos.